This guy built a supercar in his garage that hit speeds rivaling Ferrari. This is the story of a man who built a supercar in his backyard. With no team, no billionaire funding, and definitely not the kind of resources Ferrari had. Yet somehow his handmade monster hit speeds that rivaled Ferrari and Lamborghini, and the car world had absolutely no idea how he pulled it off. His name was Ferruccio Covini, not a household name like Enzo Ferrari or Ferruccio Lamborghini. But in the early 2000s, this quiet Italian engineer was about to shock the world. While big manufacturers had billion-dollar budgets and teams of hundreds, Covini worked in a dusty garage in a small town called Castel San Giovanni, surrounded by scrap metal and old blueprints. He wasn't trying to get rich. He wasn't trying to build an empire. He just wanted to build a car that should have been impossible. Ferruccio Covini was born in 1948 in Arena Po, a tiny town in northern Italy. As a kid, he was obsessed with cars and speed, not just driving them, understanding them, making them better. He got his degree in mechanical engineering and spent years working as a planning engineer for various companies. Normal job, normal life, but Covini had a dream that wouldn't leave him alone. It started in 1974. Covini was watching Formula One racing when he saw something that blew his mind. The Tyrrell P34, a race car with 6 wheels, 4 small wheels up front, 2 big ones in the back. And it wasn't just some gimmick. The Tyrrell P34 was winning races. In 1976, it won the Swedish Grand Prix. It achieved 8 second-place podiums that season. The extra wheels gave it insane grip, better braking, and reduced aerodynamic drag. Covini had an idea. What if you could bring that technology to the road? What if a street-legal supercar could have 6 wheels? Everyone he told thought he was nuts. 6 wheels? On a road car? Why would anyone need that? But Covini couldn't stop thinking about it. The advantages were obvious to him. More grip, better braking. If a front tire blew out, you'd still have 3 others keeping you safe. In 1974, he started sketching designs. His plan was simple but insane. Build a 6-wheeled supercar that could compete with Ferrari. But there was a problem, a big one. The low-profile tires he needed didn't exist yet. The technology wasn't there. So, Covini had to put his dream on hold. In 1978, he founded Covini Engineering, a small company dedicated to building automotive prototypes. He told himself he'd keep working on other projects until the time was right, and he did. For 20 years, Covini built diesel-powered sports cars, the T44 Turbo, the B24, the T40, the C36. These weren't mass-market cars. They were prototypes, experiments, proof that he could build fast cars with unconventional designs. The B24 became the first diesel car to hit 200 kilometers per hour. The C36 eventually reached 300 kilometers per hour with its turbocharged diesel engine, but the whole time Covini was waiting for tire technology to catch up, waiting for suspension systems to improve, waiting for the right moment to resurrect his 6-wheeled dream. He collaborated with major companies, Chevrolet, Cadillac, Pirelli, Brembo, Bosch. He learned from the best. He refined his skills, and he never stopped thinking about those 6 wheels.
It's always best to drive on a dry road, even in the rain.
By the late 1990s, the technology finally existed. Low-profile tires were available. Hydro-pneumatic suspension systems could handle the complexity of 4 front wheels. ABS technology and airbags had advanced enough to make the concept safer. In 2003, Covini made a decision. He was 55 years old. If he was going to do this, it had to be now. He pulled out his old sketches from 1974, nearly 30 years old, and he got to work. This time, he wasn't building a concept. He was building a real, working, street-legal supercar. He called it the C6W Covini 6-wheeler. Most people don't understand what it takes to build a supercar. It's not like building a regular car. Everything has to be perfect. Aerodynamics, weight distribution, suspension geometry, engine placement. Now imagine doing all that with 6 wheels instead of 4. Covini worked out of his small workshop in Castel San Giovanni. No massive factory, no 100-person engineering team, just him, his son who raced GT cars, and a handful of collaborators. The challenges were insane. How do you steer 4 front wheels simultaneously and keep them perfectly aligned? How do you distribute weight across 3 axles? How do you design suspension that keeps all 6 wheels planted during high-speed cornering? Most car companies would need years and millions of dollars just to figure out the math. Covini did it by hand. He designed a tubular steel chassis reinforced with carbon fiber. Lightweight but incredibly strong. The body would be fiberglass and carbon fiber. Every component had to be carefully calculated to keep the weight down. His son helped him develop an internal pushrod suspension system, the same kind used in Formula One cars. This wasn't amateur hour, this was professional-grade engineering. Covini convinced Brembo, one of the world's top brake manufacturers, to develop a custom 6-wheel, 6-channel ABS braking system specifically for the C6W, 6 brake rotors, 6 wheels worth of stopping power. For the engine, he went with a 4.2-liter Audi V8. Mid-mounted, just like a proper supercar, the engine would produce over 440 horsepower, maybe even 500 depending on the tune. Power would go to the rear wheels through a 6-speed manual transmission, or if you preferred, a 6-speed single-clutch paddle-shift automatic. The dimensions: 4.18 meters long, just over a meter tall, and ridiculously light. The dry weight would be just 1,150 kilograms, about 2,535 pounds. For comparison, that's lighter than a Mazda Miata. As word leaked out about what Covini was building, the reactions were mixed. Some people were intrigued. A 6-wheeled supercar, that's wild, that's innovative. But most people, they thought it was ridiculous. Car journalists called it a gimmick, an answer to a question nobody was asking. They said it looked like a kid's Lego toy. They compared it to an insect. And the big manufacturers, Ferrari, Lamborghini, they didn't even acknowledge it. If 6 wheels were such a great idea, why hadn't any of them tried it? But Covini didn't care. He wasn't building this car for them. He was building it because he believed in it. He believed that 6 wheels could genuinely make a car safer and faster. Geneva, 2004. Covini rolled the C6W prototype out at the Geneva Motor Show. The automotive world lost its mind. Photos of the car spread like wildfire. A supercar with 4 wheels up front and 2 in the back. It looked like nothing anyone had ever seen. Some people loved it. Most people were baffled. But here's what nobody expected. The car actually worked. Covini explained the advantages. The 4 front wheels gave you almost double the contact patch of a normal supercar. More contact meant more grip. You could brake harder and more consistently than any 4-wheeled car in its class. On paper it made sense, but would it actually work on the track? In 2005, a slightly revised version of the C6W debuted at the Salon International de l'Auto. New wheels, refreshed interior, removable Targa-style roof, and this time journalists got to drive it. The reviews were shocking. One journalist who drove it in 2011 described it as awesome and surprisingly drivable. The handling was smooth. The steering was responsive. It didn't feel weird or awkward like everyone expected. The car accelerated from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just 3.9 seconds. Top speed, over 300 kilometers per hour. That's 186 miles per hour. Those were Ferrari 360 Modena numbers. This was a car that could genuinely compete with the big boys. The grip during cornering was insane. Test drivers reported almost zero understeer because of the massive front contact patch. The car stuck to the road like it was glued down. One man, one garage, a car that shouldn't exist. And it was embarrassing the giants. Ferrari didn't officially comment, neither did Lamborghini or Porsche. But the automotive press exploded. Some called Covini a genius, a visionary who proved that innovation doesn't need billion-dollar budgets. Others remained skeptical. Sure, it worked, but was it practical? Was it worth the extra maintenance? Top Gear called it a fail of the century, but admitted it had hypothetical merits. The truth is, the C6W was polarizing. Some people saw it as the future, others saw it as a weird curiosity, but one thing nobody could deny. Ferruccio Covini had done something no major manufacturer had dared to attempt. Today, the Covini C6W remains one of the only 6-wheeled, street-legal supercars ever built. You can still order one. You can still visit the workshop in Castel San Giovanni. Ferruccio Covini, now in his mid-70s, still runs Covini Engineering. He still tinkers with prototypes. He still dreams up new ideas that sound impossible. The C6W didn't change the automotive industry. It didn't force Ferrari to build 6-wheeled cars, but it did something more important. It proved that one person can take on the giants. One man, one garage, one impossible dream, and a car that embarrassed Ferrari just by existing. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is prove everyone wrong. If you enjoyed this story, and if you want to see more insane car stories like this, hit that subscribe button like this video because we've got plenty more where this came from.